UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback.
29-year-old Sean Salisbury, his second start as a National Football League quarterback.
Hi, welcome into UNPAVED. I'm Sean. Bring Adam Sager in at Adam G. Sager on Twitter. I'm at Sean Unfiltered. We got a ton to get to today, so let's roll right in, Sags. I know you got a bunch of questions that are burning in your mind, and I know we got a lot of great viewers and listeners on here that want answers, right? They want answers, and we are here to solve their sports and maybe life problems today.
Yeah.
As we jump right in and roll through it, Bailey, Laura, thank you, part of this great team on UNPAVED, and Segs and I will get after it, and we appreciate you guys' comments as well. So, Segs, let's dive right in, and retiring your number is a good thing. I don't know if we really need it in college, but if it is retired, somebody I saw on Twitter made a great point. It was Twitter or social media, or maybe it was somebody who sent a message to me, saying the truth of the matter is retire how do you say it? You don't retire the number, you retire, it's not the number, it's I don't know, the jersey. Does that make sense, Segs? Retire the jersey and it has the number on it, but you're not retiring the number. At my school alone, Segs, what's it, 8 or 9 numbers are already retired because I said 7 or whatever, right. Heisman trophies, that's the automatic. Here's what's odd. The greatest offensive lineman in history is Anthony Munoz, I think, left tackle. Or Bruce Matthews,
right?
Their numbers, and they're in the Hall of, their numbers are not retired. Yet Heisman Trophy is the standard. Well, it's hard for a guy at left tackle to win it. Yet I could say Anthony Munoz is as good as anybody that's ever had their number retired at their position. So maybe you retire the jersey to recognize it, but the number stays alive and well. But since the rule is there, I'm with Matt Leinart, as we discussed. Doesn't need much talk, and as you see there, Lincoln Riley is not asking it. But even if he does, we're getting to a point where if you start rolling more of these and more of these, there ain't going to be enough numbers left, Segs, and we don't put 3 digits on the back of a number. So let's dive in. We got a lot to discuss today with football and trades and some really good stuff going on at SC on the defensive side as well.
Yeah. And like Coach JB said, just have a ring of honor with the names. That's all you need.
Hang it. Hang it, but still let somebody wear another one. Put the name with the jersey, but still let the jersey be in play. Does that make sense?
I mean, if you're Matt Leinart, I've always been one. If you're a guy like Matt Leinart who went there, won national titles, won a Heisman Trophy, it should be an honor to see another quarterback wear your name. At Michigan, the number 2 is special. Charles Woodson, his Heisman year, all that stuff. So the number 2 now is special. That's only given to certain players who have to earn it, and they get it later in their career. You don't just walk in and get number 2. You've got to earn it at the University.
So you can hang it from the rafters with the jersey. So what if, let's just say, for instance, at my school that Matt Leinart, I'm on Matt's side on this. I get it. Plus, some 17-year-old kid coming up with a transfer portal and NIL, you're going to leave and go. No. I'm not taking that out of retirement. Sign a piece of paper tells me you're going to be there the whole time. And if you know what I'm saying? I get all that. But Segs, for me is, and you mentioned it being an honor. High school to college, you don't get to dictate. I don't care how good a recruit you are. You haven't pissed a drop in college football. And I've seen too many 5-star recruits that come in, and a year later, they're getting their ass handed to them by a 3-star recruit. So save me I was great in high school. So get in line, pal. So was I. But ain't no number 7 hanging from the rafters right now at SC. So you get my point. But Segs, even if there's, let's just say, in Matt's case, or in Reggie Bush or Marcus Allen, number 33. If we retired the player and put his jersey up there, hanging from the rafters. But all of a sudden, another guy comes in, and let's say when I was there, Ryan Knight and Aaron Emanuel were great high school players. Let's say they wanted it because they loved Marcus. Or number 12, that's a quarterback number that Charlie wore, Charlie White. And he's hanging from the rafters, and it's in the name Charlie, we're recognizing that it was special. And it's retired without being retired. Does that make sense? It's hanging from there. But some other kid comes in, and let's just say he wins a Heisman Trophy. And he wanted number 12 because he loved Charlie White. Not just number 12, but he loved Charlie White.
Yeah.
And goes and plays and wins the Heisman Trophy as a junior at USC. You can still have two of them up there. It just shows the two best number 12s in the history of this university deserve to be hanging, so we can do it. As the rules are set up, I'm all for what Matt's saying. But it's just silly. No offense to Shedeur Sanders. His number should not be retired. Now, if you want to say it was special and hang his name from the rafters is like you would great Colorado players, but there's been plenty of Colorado players before him that were pretty good. And I'm just using him. There's been plenty of U.S. How do you have Matt Leinart's up there without having Anthony Munoz? Well, Matt won a Heisman. Anthony can't win a Heisman. Does that make sense? So, and Matt should be there. So I'm all with Matt and not asking, it's an honor. But until they change the system of retiring jerseys, and some schools probably just don't do it. So, even in high school, my number's retired at my high school, but there's still this part, and a lot of people wore number 12 after me, and I think they're still wearing it, Segs. I don't even know, and that's cool. My jersey, and they know it. It's retired. It's hanging in the gym or in the administrative office, but it is. I'm okay if somebody else wore it, and they have to. My little brother wore it. It's okay to do that. I get it. It's just that jersey with my name during a time they put it on there, and it could be the same for somebody else. But that's the way I go about it. The rules there. Oh, you can't wear it anymore. Eventually, if you had a good school with some good players, you may run out of them. So we got to fix that. But Matt's right, and I get why NFL. I get it. I do. There ain't many of them that get retired. If you want to do it, even then, instead of retiring it, hang it from the rafters. Let us know that Jerome Bettis is a great player.
Right.
Yet somebody else comes up because they love Jerome. That's the honor part that you're talking about. So it's you can be recognized without the jersey number being used anymore. But I side with Matt Leinart on this 100%.
Yeah, and sticking with USC and the talk, we've talked a lot about Gary Patterson coming in, becoming the defensive coordinator, and how big of a step it is for Lincoln Riley and such. So we're going to hear from Gary Patterson in just a second. But, I was thinking about this defense the way, when he recruited at TCU, it was a lot of classes in the 30s, 40s, even 50s when it comes to overall class. So he didn't have that, University of Texas, Texas A&M, even Baylor recruiting style. He had to find the kids. Now, Texas is deep with football talent, and the surrounding areas are deep with football talent, but he had to identify the kids that fit his system, that weren't the high
into his box,
yes.
And there's a lot of them. That's another problem.
Right.
You got to sift through a lot.
Yes, you got to sift through a ton. So, him coming in and now getting big time recruits. This year you're looking for a guy like Jakeem Stewart, who was a high 5-star player last year on the defensive line as a freshman last year. Now you're ready for him to come in this defense and take over. You're looking at transfers like the Van Sumeren kid from MSU, who, I've sat and watched a few times when Michigan plays Michigan State. He is a difference maker and a very physical style of football player, because his brother, who played at Michigan, was a fullback and played that same way. That's him on the defensive end or defensive line. I mean, you brought in Zariah Fisher from Penn State, who's a pass rush specialist, but physical, wasn't getting quite the playing time he thought he should at Penn State. Comes here, he's going to be in a big group of defensive ends that can rush the passer. So there are kids that can come in, make big impacts right away. But something that Gary Patterson is doing at spring practice, he's putting white stripes on the defenders' helmets. And here's what he had to say of why he's putting these white stripes on these defenders' helmets.
It's an eyes thing. We really, and we still got to keep getting better at it. It's all about where you snap your head. Something happens in the secondary. Let's just say the number 2 receiver runs an out. of seeing you snap your eyes to the outside, make a call, telling the corner that he's going to come off. I'm going to go look up the outside receiver. You know, when you play single high defense, you don't have to talk as much. And if you play just vision quarters, you know, could you just stay in an area? When you match up routes and do things, then you have to talk to each other. And what they find out is that, you know, when everybody's on the same page and everybody's communicating, less people make mistakes. When you live on an island, then you don't have anybody that helps you, and then you have a problem with some of those kind of things. So we get a chance on film then to see that helmet turn, and then also you get where they've been told that you're going to see them pointing, because they're also going to point when they talk. So that way on film we don't have audio. So then when they say, "Well, I said it," well, I didn't see the hand signal. So
fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So that's what it does when it gets to a point where we think they're turning their heads the way they need to and snapping their eyes and doing things, then we'll take the stripe off. When I initially went to the equipment guy, he goes, "We don't put those things on these helmets." So, and I was okay with it. We didn't, but all of a sudden they came out and they're on the helmet. So I was just glad he was okay with it. So,
Coach,
hey,
you had to.
Okay, Segs, there's layers to this. First of all, this is a brilliant approach and a tremendous defensive coach. He just is. I wanted to say full-on coach because he is a hell of a head coach. One, you mentioned, he's had good players. And he's been in a state in Texas in the past that's got great players. Segs, it's easy to go and recruit in Idaho because there's 5 players you'll find. Maybe right. I'm not saying it's not a good state. You get my point. The amount of the quality and quantity is different in Texas. It just is in California. But when he was in Texas, all the players he could recruit means you got to do even more due diligence to see who fits into your recruiting box as a player. SC isn't recruiting a 6'1", 195-pound defensive end. Somebody else in the state of Texas might. That wouldn't fit into SC's box. So that's one thing he had to go through. He's never, ever, ever had the amount of players that fit into USC's box that he has now. And now that he's on campus, Gary's got more to work with than he's ever had at any point in his career. He just does. Secondly, brilliant teaching. And what I love about this with the stripe on the helmet, and Lincoln Riley should be listening, as should every, not just defensive coach, every offensive coach on the planet. And here's why this is brilliant. One is pre-snap. You heard him talk about communication, Segs, alignment and assignment. You heard that when you were in the 4th grade. I'm sure your kid hears it in high school, and you've been hearing it when they were in Pop Warner. Alignment, where to line up, and assignment, what to do. Denny Green used to call it who to get and how to get them. When Denny was my head coach, God rest his soul, he'd say it to everybody. You got to know who to get, and then you got to know how to get them, or it's useless. So now and then he's talking about the pre-snap, the pointing. On tape, it's silent, man. You're watching film. That's why guys like the great Jackie Sherrill, old school Bear Bryant, old school coaches, and I kind of fall in between because I was in the crossover of jersey numbers and names. I watch tape, and I address it like everybody, like old school does. Number 27, number 56. I remember I was working at ESPN, and I was doing games, aside from all the studio stuff, and I went and visited Jackie. We were getting ready to do a Mississippi State game. As a matter of fact, I think it was Mississippi State. Well, who were they playing? That's irrelevant, but we were in Starkville. And I went in and sat with Jackie, and Jackie and I had a long conversation about, as you do with coaches the day before a game. We watched some tape together, and we were talking. And Jackie has always identified them by their number. And why they do that is because when you watch tape or you're sending tape to others, nobody knows it. You're worried about number 8, number 17, 27, 56. When we played the best of it, Rod Woodson wore number 26 in Pittsburgh. It's like 26. Everybody knows who he is, but 26 allows us to identify. And so by doing this, and what he's doing is, you heard him mention the word communication. What a friggin' novel concept in sports. Segs, I've been in the broadcast business, and you have for a long time. I'm in the football business for a long time. And you'd think, man, the communication business should be the easiest thing in the world because that's what you do every day on and off the field. And you know where sometimes the biggest gap in communication is? In the broadcast business and in the doggone football business. And hence, that's why some fall short, some ratings fall in football, why you get beat. Because I'm telling you, the difference between making a tackle and missing is about that far. out of position that far, special teams out of position that far, and it's a touchdown for the opposing team. By doing this white stripe on the helmet, and when Gary said the equipment manager who at SC been there, those guys were phenomenal, and our equipment managers are the most underrated people on the planet in your building, is when he said, well, we don't do that on the helmets. I was waiting for Gary to say, well, you do now, okay? Right. But what it is, it just allows me to identify. It's not a punishment thing. I want to see if you're fucking things up. I want to make sure I know your eyes are in the right place and your community. So not to berate you or tell you you're not doing your job. Now, if you're doing it 30 times in a row, then we got to figure out why you keep doing the same thing over and over and being insane about it, because that is the definition of sanity. Insanity, get the same result.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure out how we can know to improve. And it's brilliant because your eyes got to be in the right spot, man. Listen, we don't play the game blindfolded, although some look like they do offensively and defensively. But this is just to identify and spring. Oh, man, we're playing cover three sky. What is that? Well, we're playing three deep, a third, corner, free safety. And then sky coverage is old school. Some might identify it, whatever verbiage you're using is that strong safety has got curl to flat. All right, so if you're curl to flat and you are the strong safety and you are coming down curl and your eyes are looking to the left tackle or in the backfield, or looking at a place you're not supposed to be looking, should I say, then I'll know. Well, dude, if your eyes are here, you're going to get lost where you're running and be late to your position. So your eyes got to be in the right place. Because, Segs, think about it. What happens when your eyes come in as a receiver? Your head and eyes go. Rest of the body's coming with it.
Yep.
Right? So you know, and we know. And how many times you see in highlights when you go and they watch the replay and a guy's eyes are on the ball, takes him off at the last second, ball hits and falls on the ground. What are we saying? His eyes weren't eyes. And so Gary is teaching this. So you can, even on film, if you see the back of the guy's head, if you're watching from the end zone cam, at least I know in cover three, free safety's got deep third. Where are your eyes? What are you looking for? If you're in matchup zone or if you're on an island, as Gary mentioned. But here's why this is even brilliant. Segs, I've been begging for the GoPros, I've told you, in a quarterback.
Right.
Now imagine this. If I'm studying tape from behind, all 22 up, or I'm studying tape from behind and I'm the offensive coordinator, and my quarterback's eyes are here when our read, they rotated right, and our read's supposed to take us left, and his first eyes go here. Or he's got a 4-week and we only got 3 to block him, and he points and then his eyes go here and he doesn't see the fourth guy come. Well, sometimes on the field it gets skewed with pass rush. If I see his head turn or that go, then I know his eyes are in the right place. Now we can fix the rest. I can fix the physical mistake. But if he keeps looking this way, I got to know, am I not teaching it right? What is going on? So I can adjust as a coach. So this shouldn't just be for defense. Hell, if I'm a right to guard and I do this, or you got a bubble over you where you're free and you're supposed to get up to second level, but your head's looking somewhere else, at least I'll know, man, why are you looking there? You know you're supposed to hit and get up to the mic. If you're hitting and not getting to the mic and your head's still there, why aren't you getting up to the next level? The truth of the matter is this is brilliant for both sides of the football.
Yeah.
And even on special teams when guys are going crazy. Where's your head, man? Where's your head? Where you got out of your lane. Why? Well, I tried to be a hero. Well, then I can fix that. So listen, I told you, Segs, and I know I'm passionate about this and energetic. I told you when this happened that this will be as good a signing, player or coach, this offseason. And I'm going to tell you, let's just stick to SC. This is the smartest decision Lincoln Riley, aside from coming to USC, that he will have made on his staff. And that's not to diminish or shrink all other good coaches he's got. He added a Hall of Fame coach to the defensive side of the ball that was wondering in his career if he was ever going to full-time coach again. You just won Powerball when you thought you were going to win the $2 lotto, okay, where you got 25 or a scratch off for $25. You just added a handful of zeros to it. And if you don't win, it ain't going to be because you're not in the right position. It's going to be because you're playing. Maybe the other team's just better. This is a brilliant idea by Gary Patterson and a brilliant move by Lincoln Riley. And I don't know what to tell you with the recruiting class and where they are and the NIL money they got and adding a guy like Gary Patterson. I don't know what to tell you if they don't win. If they don't win now, Either they had a bunch of injuries, and I'm talking about win big, Segs, if they don't win now, or somehow you just got to clean house and get the right people. I think they have the right people. And I can guarantee you that guy right there you're staring at, Gary Patterson, is a head coach that also happens to be as good a defensive coach as we have in the country in college football.
Yeah, it's a fantastic hire for USC, and just all these little details we're getting over the last couple months since it happened that we talk about on this show just reiterates everything at the end. This is a really good hire.
Segs, and think about, let's say you and I are watching tape of USC's defense, and we go in and we're watching spring ball. And it's a great time in spring ball. Fall, we're trying to put in game plans because we're getting ready to play Michigan. I ain't got time for all the bullshit. Spring is where you do this stuff. You test, throw things out. This doesn't work. My guys don't like it. We don't have the personnel that fits into our box to play this type defense. We're a 4-3 team playing a 3-4, or these days a 5-2 team. We play 5 DBs or whatever. This is the time to do it. But you and I are watching tape. Think about it. You and I are watching tape, and you say, well, Sean, we're trying to, doesn't matter. Forget the rapper. The rapper changes every year, the player.
Yeah.
And you got a bunch of really good rappers this year, Segs, that are wrapped up and gift carded right to you because you got some players now, shiny, great objects out there that can play. But you and I are watching tape, and I'm saying, Seg, there's no stuff on the helmet. You're trying, well, I don't know, Sean, he was in position, or was he? But he was a little late to it.
Right.
If you're watching and seeing that tape on the helmet where his head is, won't that tell you, man, okay, see, look at the timing of this, split second late. You got to see it a little sooner. The head's got to snap a little sooner. And then the next practice you and I are watching, say, look what he did yesterday, and now look today, how quick the improvement took over. Listen, I know all your names in my meeting room. On the film, it's not that I don't know your name. It's because I want to watch where you are so I know you're in the right position. All we're doing is enhancing our team, our defense, and we're making you a better player. So if you and I are watching, Segs, even as a dad, you get to go watch now. Imagine if you were coaching a bunch of 7th and 8th graders, or you were coaching at your kid's high school team and you were the defensive coach. Think about how much, I don't even want to say easier, how much more efficient it is and how quickly you can get to correcting mistakes if you know where their eyes are. Hell, they're all good players that wouldn't be on scholarship.
Right.
The key here is you can be on scholarship and not been taught this in high school. Segs, if I walked you through high schools and how many coaches don't teach film study away from their own, you would be baffled.
Yeah.
Not that there's not a lot of good high school coaches, but they do so much for the player. The player doesn't take account of understand. I can still go to a really good player in high school who's a senior and say, hey, man, what's that coverage? Well, we really don't teach that much.
Right.
Coach has got that. No, coach doesn't have that. Coach may have it, but it's your responsibility to do extra work, even if they're not coaching you, which they should be, on what you're doing, because it's only going to serve you and your team better if you know pre-snap what they're trying to do to you, because you played against South Lake Carroll last year. Are they doing something different? You just saw them on Duncanville tape. Make sense? So I just, to me, it's a brilliant move. And I know I rave about this. I think it's going to be as good a hire as there is in the country this year in Gary Patterson. I friggin' love it. And Lincoln should institute that on the offensive side of the ball so the offensive staff can see where his players' heads are.
Yeah.
They just should.
I can't wait to see the improvement and where they end up this season for the Trojans, because like you
ain't
said,
an easy schedule in the playing in your conference, Segs, in the Big Ten. It's not easy, brother.
Not an easy schedule. And if they're not in that playoff come December, something went wrong in both of our opinions, because this is a
I'll
team
say it to you right now.
competing.
I tell you right now, if they're not in the playoff this year, you and I will be having a different conversation about the Trojans next January. I promise you. Yeah. And a conversation that some of the coaching staff may not like. Does that make sense?
I think a lot of the coaching staff would not like, but I
maybe
think
all of them, if that's the case.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. 100%. All right. One of the biggest stories from last week was the Max Crosby trade that was nixed by the Baltimore Ravens days after they had agreed to it. And Max Crosby finally gave his side to the debacle last week in Baltimore, which he says left him fucking livid and confused. On his first interaction with Eric DaCosta, he said, quote, "You could just tell the energy was off. Like I dapped him up and he had like a blank face. And then he said he didn't see Eric DaCosta for like 5 hours after that. He was just kind of around the building, meaning Crosby was. And then he said he talked to his surgeon, Neil Atrash, I believe is how you say the name. Elatrash, excuse me, told him after the Ravens expressed their concerns about his knees, he said, quote, he's like, Max, don't listen to any of that shit. Your knee is great. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're even ahead of schedule. You're doing everything right. They know you had surgery 9 weeks ago. So I think this is the first part here of this conversation, is the fact that Max Crosby could tell as soon as he walked in the building that something was off, that something wasn't right. He went through all the medicals, and when he got there, it just wasn't right. So what do you make of Max saying he could just tell almost immediately that something was off when he got there to Baltimore?
Well, Segs, in the first part of this Max Crosby conversation, I'll tell you what it tells me. And you know my affinity for, and I've never played for them, Baltimore Ravens front office. And I'm actually shocked to hear the approach, because I would have never, this is not, this, at least to my knowledge, good job of reporting. I think it's been Diana Rossini who's done a really good job with this.
Yeah, she's been. Yes.
And others I know are getting involved, but I think she's one of the main pieces of this and doing her due diligence. This is an organization that for the most part has been top shelf for years. This wasn't top shelf. If this is exactly how this is going, not top shelf, I'll tell you what it tells me, and I'll make it real simple for you. They knew when Max Crosby got off that plane and went into that building, this has nothing to do with medicals, or they wouldn't have got him on a plane or traded to. Put it this way, if you did not know the medicals before he got on that plane to come out and visit you, and you traded 2 first-round picks for him, then you are a shitty organization and a horrible, horrible approach. And maybe that's why you haven't been to a Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I don't believe they're a shitty organization. I don't. I do believe this, though, that they absolutely knew when Max Crosby walked into that building. Obviously, they knew the medicals. Obviously, they made the trade. Obviously, they couldn't, they were there and they knew the value they're supposed to get in turn for the value that they sent to the Raiders. When Max Crosby was there for the interview, knowing this now, they already knew they were backing out before he walked into that building. On that 2-hour drive that you're going to tell me about from DC to Baltimore, or really an hour and 20 or whatever it is, that they already had an idea that the cold feet were already starting to hit, Segs, and that's when the flirtation, or the not just deep flirtation, or the side piece Trey Hendrickson, that they were going to sign him and marry him instead. And that's, listen, I understand the window they had to back out. I hate that rule. Once you do it, you do it. But they give them that bandwidth to back out, and the remorse rule. That's what I call it. But they already knew, and we know, you and I have talked how good Trey Hendrickson is a player. Hell, I'd have gone after him in the first place, even without, and felt that out even before I traded 2 number 1s for the great Max Crosby, knowing he was in rehab. It tells me they knew Crosby was coming, that they were going to nix this trade, even while he was in the building, since they were so. Listen, Segs, in high school, when you knew a girl didn't want to hang around you anymore, you didn't want to hang around a girl. What'd you do? You got a little cold. You were a little more distant.
Yeah.
This reeks of it. So before he even got there, I honestly believe they were ready to send him back out. That's why the distance between the two and the kind of coldness and not energetic. So there's that. And that they already knew at that point that Trey Hendrickson was on it. This ain't Trey's fault. He wants to get paid and go wherever. That's not on him. So, yeah, this is one of those things that their cold feet and, oh, my gosh, would we do, was already there when Max Crosby walked into that building post-trade, and they had to go through the medicals. They knew the medicals going in. This is one simple thing. It has zero to do with the medicals. You know what it has to do with? They got it. They didn't give up 2 first-rounders, and they got a really good player without having to sacrifice 2 first-round picks. They got cold feet, period, and they were cold before Max Crosby walked into the building after the trade. Simple.
Yeah. Also, he revealed
semi-bush league, but the rules say you can, so you can't. I'm surprised that it was a Ravens way. I would expect that from some other organizations, and we know who those type of organizations are. But I don't blame them for going and getting a good player, but this was just, hell, they could have told the plane once Max landed, turn around and go back home, dude, we're nixing the trade, before they even let him walk in the building. I believe they already knew. They didn't make the decision after he left. They made the decision before he was there because they knew the medicals. They didn't. That's awful.
You talk about Bush League. Well, there was something else that pissed Crosby off too. And we have a video of him responding to it, but he also revealed that the Ravens flew him to D.C., Washington, D.C., because that was the only straight through flight. They had to drive 2 hours from D.C. to Baltimore after the 5-hour flight. Here's what Max Crosby said about that.
Get there.
Segs, for me on this one, this is a minor part of it. At that point in time on the workout, he probably could have got a plane back home. I get it, because you want to listen. Max seems like just a guy who's been through it. First class, most people can't relate. Now, some you're going after. You spent 2 first-rounders on him. You'd think you'd want to fly him, heck, on a plane and then helicopter him to the complex. I get it. Most people, it would be unrelatable to the normal person. And pro sports are unrelatable because it's but Max is he's saying it with a smile on his face, like, dude, man, 5 hours instead of flying me to Baltimore. But then if they say I got to fly you to Baltimore, then you're going to have to stop somewhere. It's not going to be a direct flight, and it's going to end up taking you longer than the 5 hours plus 2. Yet it is a first class flight. I get that's, you know what that is, Segs? That's just, put it this way, you wouldn't even know much about that if Max was still a Baltimore Raven. It's just the annoying part. Then you say, well, why didn't you send the team plane for him? That does make some sense.
Fly him private. Steve Bisciotti's worth $8.5 billion.
Get him on a net jet, no free pub.
Drop $60K to get your prize.
Right, you spent 2 first-rounders on him, so he is your prize. Right. So that's the annoying part.
Get out of
Listen,
here.
I don't have that much, like, oh, man.
Yeah, I don't really care about it, but it's just.
And neither does he, but it's just irritant over everything else that happened to him. And if it's my prize.
Billion-dollar sport. Fly your guy private.
If I own the team, even if my plane's being in use and I'm using it, that I can't. If I'm that guy, if I'm owning a team, I'm telling my general manager, book him on a net jets or whatever we use, fly him out here, get him here so it's easy. We just spent 2 first-rounders on him, so this is important. We're paying, he's a $100 million player, 2 first-rounders. Let's get him here. This is important to our quest for something we haven't been to since Joe Flacco was our quarterback, to a Super Bowl. Let's do it. But the person who's working 15 hours a day making 60 grand a year can't relate, but it's just the irritant, Segs. And on top of everything else, what it does is it takes you back to, they were cold. They knew, I'm telling you, Segs, when he got on that plane, mid-flight, they were already discussing cold feet. They could have, if Max would have called and said, this is BS, I don't even want to be there, they may have said, well, you're at the airport, hop on the next flight back home because we're already going after Trey Hendrickson. We don't like the medicals. The medicals were an excuse, not the reason. And it's not like the Baltimore Ravens, at least from what I know about them, but it is this time. And I'm standing cheering because I got Max Crosby back to my lifelong team, the Raiders, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. All right, when we come back from our commercial, we're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Let all NFL teams know something. We got a big injury taking a major player out of the NCAA tournament. And then Greg Sankey talking about something that we've talked about countless times on here. We'll talk about all that after this. But first, tell me about Augusta Precious Metals.
Augusta Precious Metals. Guys, when you're protecting what you've already earned, IRA, 401k, it's not taxed when it comes to gold and silver and precious metals. Let's discuss moving forward how you're going to protect what you've already earned. Protect what matters most with gold and silver. Augusta Precious Metals is your premier gold IRA company. Diversify, protect, preserve, hedge against inflation. That's what this does. Precious metals, they are tangible assets. Protect retirement savings. That retirement you've already earned, is cash doing that? Physical gold and silver, education first approach, no sales tactics at Augusta Precious Metals. That's why I was drawn to them. Drawn to them because they're not pressuring you and hammering you over the head with something. They're trying to educate you so you know what's best for you, your family, your peace of mind, your security now, later, and in the distant future. how much time you have, how much money you have. Precious Metals. It's your premier gold IRA company. That is Augusta Precious Metals. Secure your future with tangible assets. Visit SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Gold and silver continue to rise. And it's one of those, there's no guarantees in life or in sports or in money, but I'll be damned if gold and precious metals isn't about as close as you're going to get. Text Sean to 35052. Again, there's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee that you'll get educated on precious metals. Again, text Sean to 35052 or go to SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Free information, no obligation, guidance, education, and confidence. SeanBuysGold.com.
All right, thanks to Augusta Precious Metals as always. All right, Sean, something we talked about yesterday.
Great teammate partner, Segs.
Great partner. Something we talked about yesterday after the Miami Dolphins traded Jalen Waddle to the Denver Broncos for a first-round pick plus more. I said that they need to not stop and go trade Devon Achane. Go trade, Zach Seiler, who's a good veteran that could help a team win a Super Bowl. Well, we got reports saying that teams were calling the Dolphins about Achane, and they were told he's not available in a deal. So I'm not sure what Miami's doing here. You trade Waddle, but you won't trade the running back. I just don't understand this. Maybe they're just not getting offers they thought they would immediately after trading, and maybe it will still happen. But I think the Dolphins have to do this. Do you like this avenue the Dolphins are taking here with Achane, or would you like to see them keep moving veterans?
Well, Segs, it's too. We're not in those rooms about what they're on the phone with what they're getting. I would understand if I'm them. I'm not giving him away because people know that you're in a fire sale. That and maybe, as you mentioned, that is the case. But you can't, when you're making a decision that we're in a rebuild. When you're talking about rebuild, you got to rebuild, right? If you're going to do it, you got to do it. This is a really good player with some really good speed. And at least one thing I know, if you're Malik Willis, you're saying thank you very much. I got a guy in my backfield that can assist me and help me on play action and help me be better in the run game. But just because they're saying this, Segs, I've heard this before, everybody's available for the right price for the most part. When I say everybody, maybe that's not fair. Mahomes probably isn't available, and neither is Josh Allen, but most players are. And a lot of times, most running backs are. So this tells me not available until you decide to give me the right price. But I'm not giving him away. He's too good a football player. I'm a big keep some of your core. This is a core player for the Dolphins. But if your plan is to not just retool, but to rebuild this thing big, then more assets will come this way. The bottom line is that they're not getting the assets they wanted for him. And I think that's why he's still there. But I would not say, if I'm a team, I'm not taking his word for it or their word for it. I'm still calling. Maybe you got to up the price. And if you up the price, I imagine they'd come back out and say, well, if they did move him, we finally got what his value was and we're okay. It just seems to me that they're not getting the value for what he brings to a team, because this would be a valuable player for a lot of teams that need upgrade in the run game.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a guy who is coming off a 238 carry season for 1,350 yards, 8 touchdowns, had 67 receptions, had 78 receptions the year before that, almost 1,000 yards rushing, has 3,000 yards rushing in his career, and he hasn't been the lead back in Miami that entire time until this past season. So, I mean, this is a kid at 24 years old that can go to a team and take your running game from middle of the road to the top run game in the league.
Pretty fast too, Segs.
Yes.
He can move now. Okay. He can fly. He's a puff of smoke. Bam, and he's gone. I'm going to tell you though, that run game and all that's one thing. My favorite thing about him, 3 down back.
Yeah.
Catches the ball out of the backfield. Hell, he stumbled his way into 70 plus and 60 plus catches. Imagine if there's a focus. I mean, and I understand when Mike McDaniel's being there and the way the 49ers do it, the back does catch the ball. When you think about it, Segs, the last couple of years, Barkley, McCaffrey, this dude here is one of the more, when it comes to catching the ball out of the backfield and running it, he's as top shelf as we've had in the league as far as production in both. What that does against offenses is when you prepare, you don't just prepare for wideouts and a tight end in the passing game. This is a guy on third down can run you an option route and catch it and work in space. This is also a guy on first and second down that can take care of the load. And it's a pretty big load, 1,400 plus yards. You said 70 and 60 plus catches the last 2 years. I can't begin to tell you from a quarterback standpoint what that versatility means. And you tell me this, with that versatility, what safety coming down in the box to cover him in man coverage and or linebacker, nickel linebacker, if it's a DB, or is covering him out of the backfield. That is a major mismatch offensive wise. You just can't. So this is, I get why the Dolphins would keep him, and I get why they'd be aligned to grab him. But I think those teams, in my opinion, that are offering and why the Dolphins are saying he's not available, just to reiterate this, Segs, is you're sitting there saying, well, wait a minute, man. We hold him here, and other teams are trying to devalue this because he's a running back. This dude is a running back that's got receiver skills. You don't catch almost 80 balls and have average pass catching skills. This is an elevated player and one that Miami could use, but also a bunch of teams could. Let's keep an eye on this one as we move towards the draft and see if somebody ups their ante for him.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a kid. I mean, just think what.
And he's 24.
Yeah, right.
24. He's still a kid.
Think what Jahmyr Gibbs did in Detroit with Ben Johnson. I mean, now add A-Chain to the Chicago Bears and replace DeAndre Swift, who had a good, nice season, but now put a real threat in that backfield. And the thing about A-Chan is he's more of a pure running back than Gibbs, whereas Gibbs isn't like you can't just hand it to him 25 times, and he's not a bell cow back. I think he had 250 carries last year, but I think he's not that guy that's going to run in between the tackles all the time, where A-Chan can. Even as a smaller running back, he has that power to run up the middle. So, I mean, there are certain teams, and my Bears being one of them, that could take this kid and take a already really good run offense and make it elite and help your offense and Caleb Williams be even better.
And I know the Rams can run it too, but imagine a guy like him with what McVay's trying to do with these. I mean, I'm just using as an example what Kansas City would love to do. And I know they went out and got their guy. But point being is that's the type of thing you want, because all it does, make your wideouts better, make your quarterback better, make your offensive line better, because really as an extension of the run game with him catching it, then you go in and you're kind of playing on roller skates or on ice skates if you don't know how to ice skate, and those ankles are bending, because this dude in space can be devastating. And I love 3 down backs, so you don't have to pull a guy out of a game because, well, we're trying to throw it on 3rd and 7 or protect the quarterback, and I got to get him out because he can't run a route. He doesn't understand the passing game. This guy's a really good player, and quite frankly is very understated across the league when it comes to the top backs.
100%. All right, we got 3 topics left. We'll run through them real quick. Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, basically says he wants common sense standards when it comes to these 26, 27-year-olds getting their 7th, 8th, and 9th years in college athletics. This isn't a career. You know, he says, quote, "It is a temporary period of time for college student to be a college athlete, not a career athletic situation." He also says that college athletics are in the middle of a historic change that will be messy and uncomfortable. So I think it's something that, you know, he's dead on. He's kind of saying what we've said, just those common sense standards. And I've said I want it even further. I want it to be 5 years in college, no red shirts, nothing. You get 5 years. And if you get hurt, I'm sorry, that sucks, but it's part of life. Not everybody's meant to be a professional athlete. And if your injuries cause you to not be able to play in college, go get your degree still and go find yourself a job. That's how I would do it. But I get what Greg Sankey's saying, just having those common sense standards.
Yeah, common sense. Basically, Segs, he's saying basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
With an asterisk by it, if somebody had some really bad heart. Listen, I get, and life gets in the way. If a kid all of a sudden loses 2 family members to a tragic accident and has to leave school because he's the supporter of whatever, you know,
right.
I get the compassion we must show. But now you've gone to play in the NBA and come on back and you get to play. That's Greg saying. We don't need 28-year-olds playing. This is still a kid, young adult game, and it's not your career. You're a college student. If that was the case, we'd all go back to the fraternity house and be drinking till we're 35, right? Without any responsibility. No. Listen, Segs, if the NC2A had the power that it used to have, you know who should be the commissioner if it wasn't Nick Saban? This guy right here.
Yeah.
He gets it. He's old school common sense with an understanding of the new school things that these kids need, paying them, and he gets it. But he's exactly right. You didn't go to college. You went to college to find out what your career is going to be, not to use college sports as your career. So he says it in a different way, says he's trying to be, I don't want to say politically correct, but he is trying to make sure that without pinning himself into a hole by saying you get 5 years to complete 4 and get your ass, or 4 years of playing with 5 years of eligibility for a redshirt year, or take the redshirt away and say you get 5 and move on. Yeah. Right, 5 years and get out. And he's right, and you're right. We've said this before. Greg Sankey the truth is, Sankey, who's the most powerful guy in college sports right now when it comes to decisions? Yeah. It's a commissioner of a conference, but in truth, there's 2 or 3 of them.
It's him and the Big Ten commissioner.
That's exactly right. That are running the show and should. He's logical. And the bottom line is you don't need the kid's opinion. Here's the rule. Make it firm. We're not moving the goalpost for you unless there's certain things that come with a parent's health or something. But we're not moving the goalpost because you decided you want to play another year because, well, the path you took was different. Well, I blew my knee out twice. I understand the path. Deal with it and go compete and then move on to a new job just earlier than you wanted to. College is not a career decision. You go there to get a career, not to make it your career.
Yeah, 100%. We had big news out of the NCAA tournament. A team that I picked as an upset possibility is Louisville. I think that, and now I'm blanking on South Florida. That's what it was. That's who they play in the first round. I had them as an upset candidate. Well, Michael Brown Jr., their top player, will be a top 10 pick in next year's draft, is out for this first game, definitely out for the second game if they advance, and possibly the rest of the season. There's some whispers saying that since he got hurt, Mikel Brown's father was at a game and was heard saying basically like he's done. He's not playing the rest of the season. We're basically taking him out for the NBA draft because we're not going to risk him getting hurt even worse and then maybe falling. And you fall a couple spots in the NBA draft, that's the difference between $1 and $3 million. So Michael Brown Jr. out for Louisville at least this first weekend if they can advance through.
Guess who's not getting to the second weekend?
Louisville.
Which would get you to the Sweet 16 is Louisville. Yeah. Hate to say it. Sorry, Cardinals fans, but yeah, basketball is too important when your best player's gone. You may be able to get by 1, you ain't getting by 3. That's not a Sweet 16 team without him.
Yeah, 100%.
They were going to have a hard time getting there with him, Segs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had them losing in my bracket. I'd have to look at the bracket that I filled out, but I have them losing. I'm pretty sure. All right, and then last night, last topic real fast here. Your Red Sox blew it. Whitlock and Roman Anthony. Whitlock gives up the game winning run in the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th, and then Roman Anthony up with a chance to tie it with just one swing with 2 outs.
And the guy's pumping at 99 and he missed some cheese on his swing through. Yeah, that blew it.
Valencia is up there throwing,
not to mention Schwarber struck out. No. They only carved out 2 runs because Harper got hot in one game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't care about that. It's Whitlock gave up the game-winning run and Roman Anthony struck out to end the game. So essentially, the Red Sox cost the United States their WBC victory. So congrats to Venezuela, who gets the win.
Now, I'll start on the back first. Congrats to Venezuela. This is the way it's supposed to be. You saw Harper go congratulate. Love the energy. Guys were in tears. So if you don't think this matters, the passion, the tears, the U.S. team, just probably baffled because if it's not for Harper's home run sakes, their offensive production for a 2 or 3 games had struggled. Yeah. And that was
where did Aaron Judge go?
That's exactly right. So you can blame it on my Red Sox, but I got news for you. If it's not for the Red Sox players throughout the tournament, you want to go through what Durant did in the tournament? Abreu's bomb in his home run, the way Roman Anthony played at 21 years old, the way Whitlock was. He gave up a gapper that was smoked, yet got no help offensively. And we never got to Mason Miller, and you never got to Bednar suck it, okay? Because as an overall team of 30 major league teams, guess whose overall production was the best in the tournament? The Boston Red Sox, okay? And even Smoltz admitted they're going to win more games they did last year after you have them like pulling up the cellar. I flipped you off on here, but
77 wins. Okay? I think I got the Red Sox down for.
How many? Let me ask you a question.
77 and what? 82, 84,
real
whatever
quick,
it would be.
Real quick, can we go back? I'm talking about as an overall. There were players that were better. As an overall, I didn't say that Turang wasn't great. Turang's a special player. I'm talking about the overall production from teams that they're going back to their team. Hell, with the overall production, we should be the favorite in Boston to be I say we like I'm on the roster.
Yeah.
We should be the favorite. Let me talk to me about the White Sox in this WBC with all the teams combined. Right? How'd they do, Segs?
Did you see what Murakami did throughout this tournament?
I said numerous. I want names and not just one.
Just
give me the
it
whole.
Doesn't matter. It's just
so
Murakami.
you couldn't wait, even though you wanted USA to win, you couldn't wait to say, like we said on the text thread last night, oh, leave it to the Red Sox to blow it. As Roman Anthony, who I know you love Roman Anthony and you want him on the White Sox, and I know you think Whitlock's one of the best relievers in baseball, and they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time with no help at the plate from their friends.
All I know,
and yet you suck it. Boy, was Venezuela on the mound good last night.
Those assholes puckered when it mattered most. And
your ass. Speaking of your ass, save
couldn't do it.
I'm about to cut your ass off, okay? Red Sox family, be proud. USA was a hell of a run. First championship in this for Venezuela, and you saw him, man. Tears and man, dude, Suarez. If you like emotion, not only when he hit when he got the hit, Segs that put him ahead, but the gapper, but also just the way he reacted on second base, his emotion after the game and the interview. These guys are in tears. This mattered, and good on Venezuela and the way they were managed and the way they played. And the U.S. did a great job. They just got beat like they couldn't hit. And the pitching for Venezuela was lights out. Just similar to what the USA did to Dominicans with their starting pitching, but more importantly, with the way their bullpen rolled through it. Without the Red Sox players, we probably didn't have a WBC, so suck it. Okay, there you go.
We definitely have one. It'd just be maybe the U.S. wins if Andrew Benintendi. If Andrew Benintendi was up,
so
he'd probably be hurt.
Red Sox,
if he was up, he would. Now that he's on the White Sox, he'd actually hit a meaningful hit.
So if Roman Anthony, and you can't even put Bregman's lack of production at the plate on the Red Sox because he's now in your town, Segs.
Oh, so, he's a Cub now.
He's not a Red. So can we go back again? So you're basically
I
saying,
still put that on Boston.
You're basically saying Roman Anthony and Whitlock suck.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
They blew it.
I'll bet you that the Red Sox win 15 more games than the White Sox this year.
15? I'll say 22 probably.
Okay. Enjoy your 24 hours of ripping the Red Sox because we're getting back to the season shortly.
Don't give my White Sox too much credit. We're just worried about a stadium, okay?
I'm trying to give you a little credit. Yeah, you're worried about a lot of things, and guess what? An ass whooping is going to be one of them most of the year.
Yeah, baseball's not one of them. The on-the-field stuff does not matter right now in Chicago.
There you go.
For most.
You're a businessman. It's all business right now.
We're all just trying to figure out this stadium together, Sean.
Got you, brother.
Maybe some way we can make Jerry Reinsdorf disappear. Because that'll take care of
congratulations to Venezuela. Oh, well, yeah, it sure would. But congratulations to Venezuela. The raw emotion was, even though it came at the expense of the USA, was good to see. And Bryce Harper, pure class, going over there and doing all you did for that and recognizing what it meant to them. Good. It was a fun watch and dramatic game. Loved it. It was fun. Hated the result, but I loved it for Venezuela. Good on them.
Yeah, it's fun to see the WBC for the passion that they play with throughout the entire tournament, especially
and with all that they
Venezuela and Dominican and Puerto Rico, and
we should adopt more of that energy, Segs.
Yes.
We all should. In life, we all should. And think about what Venezuela's been through as a country that's been Yeah, I mean that you could see some of that emotion carry over into the sports part last night. It was good to see. I have hyped up my love for the WBC. I wish we had it every 2 years instead of every 3 years. I do.
The best baseball you will watch, the most passionate baseball you watch, not even the WBC. Go watch the Caribbean series. That is insane because they actually play it down there, and it is nuts the way those games go. I mean, it is just. I mean, it's you think MLB is exciting or anything? This is 400 times more exciting.
And I do have to say this, and it's a thumbs up in a respectful way. When the camera crew pans the stands,
yeah, that was a fun night last night.
Eye candy's about every 3 seats. Yeah, you don't. I mean, they'll pan to one who's saying "Go Venezuela," and you're like, "Could you keep the camera there? Screw the next pitch."
They kept those two. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, one that had the dude, one that had the like had the jersey on, like the country jersey on, the flag on the jersey. Yep. Yeah, I was like, you know what? And I full respect, but the
moving to Venezuela.
Yeah, well, I was going to say
Miami.
If you're in the stand, if you were in the stands, you probably didn't get to pay much attention to the game.
You have no idea what happened.
Considering the great visuals, I'm talking about the scoreboard and everything else. So you know what I'm talking about.
No,
so
you're not.
No, I'm actually not. So everything was good to watch last night, and I would imagine down there at the Caribbean Series, it's pretty similar.
Yes. Oh, 100%. All right. Thanks for watching UNPAVED, the flagship show for USC football and Houston Texans coverage. Get over to YouTube and Rumble. Make sure you like and subscribe at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Follow him at Sean Unfiltered. Myself at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey, Laura, all our viewers, listeners, commenters. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Peace.
Unpaved, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.